The final jewel in the crown is the $25 million Longines Hong Kong Cup, and they're headed by this year Deauville for Aidan O'Brien. Barrier 2 for him, won the Belmont Derby last year. Near Realism, the QE2 Cup winner from last season, is back. Poet's Word for Sir Michael Stout. Werther, of course, for John Moore and Tommy Berry. Secret Weapon, runner-up to Morris in last year's race. Robin of Navan, Galengari from France. Time Warp's the improver. Water Cree for O'Brien. Blonde Me, the globe-trotting mare for Andrew Balding. And Smart Lair, another mare from Japan, a Group Grade 2 winner last time out. Let's start though with Werther, three-time Group 1 winner here in Hong Kong. He's got the Derby, the Gold Cup, the Champions and Chater Cup. What he doesn't have yet though is a Hong Kong Cup for the mantelpiece.
Werther would have to be #1, stayer in this stable. He's the real deal.
Werther, the horse of the year, is roaring away with the Champions and Chater from Blazing Speed and Eagle Way. How sweet it is, Werther. A remarkable encounter. Blazing Speed joined by the horse of the year, and Werther gets up to win the Gold Cup.
John Werther in his first season, the Derby, the QE2, second season, Gold Cup, Champions and Chater Cup, but he's coming into the Hong Kong Cup this year. Is this the race missing from his CV?
Yes, it is. We all know that he had a setback last season, which didn't allow him to run last year. But this season, he's done everything right. He's done no silly things out there on the track, and we haven't missed a day's work with him. So we're going in with very, very high hopes.
You've said all along this preparation of the Cup has been his main aim, his grand final. Do you feel like he's going to be 100% on the day?
Definitely, 100%. His last run, well, he won his last start, even though the speed up front was really tested his fitness level.
Harbour Master charges along on the lead, 5 in front. Time Warp starting to reduce the margin. Werther starts to get cracking now.
He's a real lion, isn't he? He really knows where the line is, and he fought hard, and we managed to win the race.
Werther strides up to the outside of Time Warp, then Nasser and Goldmount. Werther edging clear, and class will prevail. Werther takes the Jockey Club Cup.
Did that run take much out of him?
No, he's as tough as goat's knees. He came straight back and got straight into his bin and ate everything, and you wouldn't have even known he had a run. And Tommy's galloped him since, and he just said, this horse is just thriving at the moment.
You've won the Cup twice, but 21 years apart, 1993 and 2014. It's our richest race here in Hong Kong. How difficult is it to win?
Very difficult. You've got to go out there in the first instance and find the right horse. And when Werther walked into the stable, we were in shock because he just looked like he needed a good feed. He was a very skinny, light, leggy type, and I did not expect, to what's happened. Him being the horse of the year and being Hong Kong's premier stayer. To find him. To get him up to where he is today and to go into the race with very high hopes of him winning is every owner's dream.
Well, let's start with Werther then, Graham. A fighting win last time out. Tommy Berry said he was about 90% for that and was still good enough to win to beat Time Warp.
Yeah, that makes sense, and it was a really gritty performance. He was up against an up-and-comer and giving £5 to Time Warp, and the fact that he could subdue him, if he was still a bit short of his peak, is very notable. We should definitely mention here that the powerhouse of Hong Kong racing, the John Moore stable, have had a subdued time. The strike rate has been a general 6%. It's been smaller than that in the last few weeks, but he seems to override those lulls in stable form, and he is super solid. We know exactly what to expect from him. I'm convinced that he'll run to his mark, and that sets the bar high for the rest. Something has to take a fair-sized step forward to beat him. I think he has to run a really big race.
All right, where to start then with the European runners, Kevin? Aidan O'Brien, again with a couple of runners. Water Cree's interesting, a very disappointing run in the Breeders' Cup Classic.
I think he is really interesting. I'd imagine he's going to be a very big price here, but it's very easy to excuse that run on the dirt, I know he's bred for it, but it's a very tough ask, I think, to go into a race of that class on the dirt first time. And on his prior start to that at Dundalk, on the all-weather, he was really impressive. And he's very likely raced to be one of the most likely raced horses here on the day, I'd say. This will only be the 8th run of his life. but he's very talented, and I wouldn't be at all surprised now if he bounced back and ran a big one here.
Any chance for horses like Robin of Navan or Gallangari?
Not for me. Robin of Navan might have a role to play in the pace set up of the race, but I'd be a little bit surprised if either of them were involved in the finish. Deauville, Ryan Moore rides him, and look, he's very solid. He was very disappointing in the Woodbine Mile last time, uncharacteristically poor run. And interestingly, he's the only one of Aidan O'Brien's runners here that didn't go to the Breeders' Cup. So perhaps they've found something after Woodbine. It needed a little bit of time to get right. And hopefully he'll arrive here certainly a somewhat fresh horse. And the fact that Ryan rides him, you can only take encouragement from that, as well as his draw. You know, he will go forward, I'd imagine.
Yeah, Kate, Werther's only been beaten once in his life over 2,000 metres here at Chartin. That was by a horse called Neorealism.
Well, and Neorealism's back again to hopefully do it again. I'd hope Mr. Horry doesn't bring horses abroad unless he's pretty sure that he's going to nail it down. He's an excellent conditioner, both in Japan and when he travels. So I'd say with Morera aboard, kind of the magic set together again, it will be interesting.
It's far from an ideal prep run coming into this, though, is it?
Yeah, again, they were all in the same race. Satano Aladdin and Stefanos actually were all in the Tenosho Aki, which was pelted with rain for weeks, and it was a truly horrendous race to have to run in. I think it was a race filled with top class horses, and about half of them all finished in the last half there. So I wouldn't hold that against him. I wouldn't hold that against any horse that finished poorly in that race.
What about Smart Layer? A quick word on the mare?
Smart Layer is probably one of the most consistent of the three horses in this race. She's a real tough cookie. She can beat the Colts. She can beat the best fillies. And she doesn't finish too far behind. And Taki knows this race well. So I think that together, and if you saw her work, she's not the best mover when she's going slowly, but once she gets cooking, she's just absolutely gorgeous. I think she'll run well.
Forgive me, Andrew, have we said much about Poet's Word?
We haven't, no.
Because we need to, don't we?
Yeah.
Sir Michael Stout went very close in this race many years ago. A horse called Greek Dance, who was beaten by Fantastic Light, a horse he used to train. And Poet's Word is not up with the very best in Europe, Kevin, but he was beaten by a mighty horse last time, Cracksman, and the Irish Champion Stakes form puts him in the ballpark for sure.
Absolutely. I'm just slightly surprised they've persisted with him over 10 furlongs. You know, I thought he won very well over 12, and in those two starts over 10, I think he showed a lot of stamina coming over here on this surface. 10 furlongs here, poor draw, likely to get dropped in. I think he has all the talent to get involved, but I think they'll need to go really hard in front to give him the best chance, because I can only imagine he'll drop in from that draw. And that was the main negative I had next to him. I don't question his talent, I just worry about his ability to show it in this particular set of circumstances.
And on that neo-realism angle, if you back him, it's in part at least a bet on the trainer's skill. And he's got some skills. I think he's only had 8 runners at HKIR in the last decade. 3 have won, and 4 of the others have been in the money. So he's a real target trainer for this fixture.
Yeah, ignore him at your peril. Quick word, Graham. Horse like Secret Weapon, is he the forgotten horse in the race?
I think he potentially is. His trainer seems quietly confident. His runs this season wouldn't fill you with confidence, but we know he ran very well in this race last season. And I have to go back to Time Warp, because if I like Werther, and I do, I have to like Time Warp as well, because I think, like you, Andrew, I'm convinced that horse is still improving. There are evidence from the clock that makes him a really, really good horse. It's a classic Hong Kong story. He lost his first 7 here, and since he clicked, he's got better and better. I don't think he'll have too much heat on the front end, and Zach Purton will know exactly when to time that move for home, I hope.
All right, okay. Final time then, decision time in the Cup. Is this another one heading overseas, Kevin?
No, I'll give the locals this one. I think Werther is my pick here. Second in, I'm going to go with War Decree, who I think could run well at a very, very big price. Poet's Word, I could see him finishing well for a place, and Deauville to wrap it all up.
All right, and Graham, Werther, the obvious one?
No, let's do the Time Warp for value. I think he's going to be a much bigger price. I think there's not much between those 2 horses. I take that Jockey Club Cup as the key race. I think Poet's Word and Neo-Realism are bound to be around the mark also.
All right, and Kate, as far as the Japanese, can he pull a rabbit out of the hat here with Neo-Realism?
I wouldn't be surprised, but I also would definitely consider Smart Layer in there. I think she could be a surprise.
All right, well, that's just about all we've got time for. But Kate, I'm going to be speaking to the trainers and jockeys after the race, so just in case there is a Japanese winner, I need a phrase, a line, something I can say, congratulations, well done, or...
You would say, omedetou gozaimasu.
I'll come back to that one. Kevin, complete this well-known phrase, Irish eyes will be blank or blanks after Sunday.
Hopefully smiling regardless.
And Graham, I've got nothing for you. We've got bloodshot possibly as well.
True.
I think Hong Kong are going to have a pretty good weekend. I think they're strong, certainly in 3 of the 4 races.
Yeah, absolutely. But don't forget, the coverage will start locally. 11:55 will be on air. The first of the 4 Group 1s, that is race number 4, the Vase, that's at 2 o'clock local. Race number 5 is the Sprint 240. Race 7 is the Mile at 350. And race number 8 is the Cup itself, that is at 4:30 p.m. Don't forget the websites, hkjc.com or Twitter, hkjc_racing. Well, that's just about all we've got time for. Thanks to the panel here. My thanks to you as well for being part of today. Hopefully we can count on your company again on Sunday when some of the world's best be competing for $84.5 million at the Longines Hong Kong International Race Day.